Man, if you've been following the PGA Tour this week, you already know this Arnold Palmer Invitational has been absolute chaos. And honestly, this is the kind of week that reminds you why Bay Hill is one of the most dramatic stops on the entire PGA Tour calendar. Because right now, two big stories are unfolding at the same time, and both of them could seriously impact how this tournament finishes. One of them happened right in the middle of the action today, something that completely stopped the tournament and left players, fans, and officials just waiting to see what happens next. And the other story, well, that one has been building all week, and it explains why this course keeps breaking even some of the best players in the world. If you're a real PGA Tour fan, you know Bay Hill never gives anything away easily. But this year, it might be pushing players even harder than usual. So in this video, we're going to talk about both of these huge developments happening right now at the Arnold Palmer Invitational and why they matter heading into the final stretch of the tournament. And hey, real quick, if you're a true PGA Tour fan like me and you love keeping up with everything happening week after week, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. This channel is brand new, and the goal right now is to reach our first 10,000 subscribers with people who genuinely love the PGA Tour. All right, so let's start with the first big story coming out of Bay Hill today. Honestly, it's something nobody wanted to see happen in the middle of such an important weekend. Round 3 of the Arnold Palmer Invitational was officially suspended because of severe weather. The day actually started pretty well. Early in the morning, the conditions were relatively calm, and players who had those early tee times were able to get out there and take advantage of the softer conditions. A lot of groups were making moves on the leaderboard trying to position themselves heading into the weekend. For a while, it felt like we were going to get a full, uninterrupted Saturday of golf. But then the Florida weather showed up. Storm systems began moving into the Orlando area later in the afternoon, and things started to change quickly. Heavy rain began falling, and more importantly, lightning started appearing in the area around Arnold Palmer's Bay Hill Club and Lodge. And as soon as lightning becomes a factor, the PGA Tour doesn't take any chances. Tournament officials immediately made the decision to suspend play. And honestly, that's the only call they could make. Player safety, fan safety, staff safety, that always comes first. So players were pulled off the course, play stopped, and round 3 was left unfinished. Now here's where it gets a little tricky for the tournament. Weather had already been a concern earlier in the week. Forecasts heading into the weekend were already warning about possible storms in the Orlando area, so this wasn't completely unexpected. But when delays happen on a Saturday during a signature event like the Arnold Palmer Invitational, the schedule can get complicated really fast. Officials are planning to resume round 3 as soon as conditions allow, but depending on how these storms continue to develop, there is still a real possibility of further delays. And if that happens, it could mean a very long Sunday for the players. In situations like this, sometimes players end up finishing round 3 early Sunday morning before turning right around and starting the final round just hours later. And if you've watched the PGA Tour long enough, you know that kind of schedule can completely change the dynamic of a tournament. Fatigue becomes a factor, momentum changes. Players who were rolling on Saturday suddenly have to reset mentally overnight. So right now, everyone at Bay Hill is basically waiting on the weather. Players, fans, tournament officials, everyone is just hoping the storms clear out quickly so the event can stay on track heading into Sunday's final round. But while the weather story grabbed the headlines today, there's another reason this tournament has been so dramatic this week. And honestly, this second story explains why Bay Hill keeps humbling even the best players in the world. Because once again, in 2026, players are describing Arnold Palmer's Bay Hill Club and Lodge with one word that keeps coming up over and over again: brutal. And if you've watched this tournament over the years, you already know exactly why they say that. Bay Hill has always been one of the toughest tests on the entire PGA Tour schedule, especially during the Florida swing. This course demands everything from a player's game: accuracy, patience, shot making, and a lot of mental toughness. The setup alone is intimidating. The course stretches roughly 7,466 yards as a par 72, with narrow fairways that punish missed drives, thick rough that makes recovery shots incredibly difficult, and fast Bermuda greens that can get extremely tricky, especially late in the day. And then you add in the bunkers. There are more than 80 bunkers scattered across the property, forcing players to constantly think about positioning and strategy instead of just swinging away. But what really makes Bay Hill so dangerous is the water. Water hazards come into play on 9 of the 18 holes. 9! That means half the course has the potential to completely derail around with just one slightly offline shot. And the closing stretch might be the most stressful part of all. Holes 16, 17, and 18 form one of the toughest finishing stretches on the PGA Tour. Water is lurking on every single one of those holes, which means even players with comfortable leads can suddenly see those leads disappear on Sunday afternoon. We've seen it happen before, and we could easily see it happen again this week. One of the most talked about recent changes at Bay Hill actually involves the par 3 17th hole. For decades, that hole had a massive beach bunker along the right side of the green. It was one of the most recognizable features of the course. But that bunker has now been removed and replaced with thick rough. And that change actually makes the nearby lake even more of a threat. Now players are staring at a shot of about 221 yards over water, with even less margin for error if the ball drifts to the right. And let me tell you, standing on that tee box late on Sunday with the tournament on the line, that's one of the most intimidating shots a player can face all season. Now, interestingly enough, even with all of this difficulty, we've seen moments where players try to overpower the course. And one of the most famous examples happened back in 2021. That's when Bryson DeChambeau pulled off one of the most unbelievable shots in modern tournament history on the par 5 6th hole. Instead of playing the hole traditionally, Bryson launched a drive over the lake, a shot that traveled more than 370 yards. Fans couldn't believe it. It instantly became one of the most talked about moments in PGA Tour history and sparked a huge debate about whether modern power hitters could actually overpower Bay Hill. But here's the thing, moments like that are rare, because for most players, Bay Hill still demands precision far more than raw distance. You have to hit fairways, you have to control your approach shots, you have to stay patient when the course starts pushing back.
And that's why winning scores here can vary so much depending on the weather and how the course is set up. Some years we see players reach double digits under par, but in tougher years, the winner might only finish a few strokes under par, which tells you everything about how demanding this place can be. So as we wait for round 3 to resume here at the 2026 Arnold Palmer Invitational, the reality for players is pretty simple. First, they have to deal with whatever the Florida weather decides to do. And second, they still have to survive Bay Hill, because that's really what this tournament is all about. Surviving one of the toughest courses on the entire PGA Tour schedule and holding your nerve long enough to win on Sunday. And honestly, that's why fans love this event so much. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think the weather delay is going to completely change the outcome of this tournament? And do you think Bay Hill is still the toughest course on the PGA Tour schedule? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy talking about the PGA Tour with real fans who follow this stuff every single week, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. PGA Tour Today is a brand new channel, and the goal right now is to reach our first 100,000 subscribers with people who truly love the PGA Tour. Thanks for watching, and let's see what Bay Hill has in store for the rest of this wild weekend.